Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you? And be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Jardo, Neil, who else we got in there? Sensual Goat, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
How are you?
I'm alright, Neil, how are you?
Good morning.
How are you?
Hey, Nathan.
Yes.
I have to share a special moment.
What's that?
This is the longest that my wife has sat with me listening to you forever. You have used the R and S word a lot, which she doesn't like, but you made her laugh. So I just wanted to promote a very special moment.
Oh, fair enough. I'll try and cut down on my disdain. I told myself before I started today's show, I'm going to start today's show with a happy temperament and see if I can maintain it as long as possible. It took about 45 seconds of playing the video that was shared with me before I felt utter disdain for the world.
There is one question that she wants to ask you, though.
Fine. Did you want to relay that, or is she going to ask me personally?
No, I'll relay it. She just doesn't understand why you aren't besties with Flat Earth Dave and why you aren't singing Kumbaya.
Why am I not?
She wants to know the story.
Because I was sold under the bus by him. So during I think it was a not Ballbusters, Globebusters. Dave was on with Jaron and the lads, and their guest brings me up. Now, bearing in mind that they'd spent, 10 or 15 minutes discussing at nausea people like McToon, without any issue whatsoever, the moment my name came up, Dave shut the conversation down quicker than you could possibly believe and said these words: "We don't watch Nathan Oakley." Now, at this particular point, I'd been feeding Dave videos that I'd made specifically for his app that he was publishing for free. I was making fuck all out of it, excuse my French. But basically, I was pumping material into his app for him to profit from. And then he turned around to a guest who he shut down because he wanted to talk about me and said that they don't watch me. In other words, he sold me under the bus. Absolutely infuriating. I approached him about it, didn't give a shit. That's one particular issue. A further issue was me approaching Jaron to explain what science is and being shut down and called a scammer. And Dave's reaction, when I did the exact same thing with him, was to end the conversation quickly. In other words, tell me I'm wrong and end the discussion about science and the scientific method. Did not want to hear it. Because his boys were using science to promote their ether scam. So therefore he didn't want to know, didn't want to learn, wasn't interested. So Dave is more than happy to sell his so-called friends under the bus in favour of what turns out to be Jaron the shill. That's who he was defending when he didn't want to learn about science and told an audience that he didn't watch. There you go, there's my answer.
Well, what about the Bitcoin you were protecting?
Oh, those are just things that I was doing for Dave that made it more egregious when he said we don't watch Nathan Oakley. Like, at the time, he's got me defending his honour and Bitcoin with participating members suggesting that they can prove a sphere for 2 Bitcoin, and then he sends them to me to argue with them. Again, what, you're not watching me defend your 2 Bitcoin, the audience member that you've sent to me? Just a scumbag.
Okay, are you happy with that story, dear? Right. She's very happy. Thank you, Nathan.
Just zero loyalty, just a scumbag. I mean, I'm pretty fickle. So if Dave came and said sorry and was like, I was wrong about Jaren, I was misled. Actually, you were 100% right. They needed to scam people with science. Can you teach me what it is? I'd be like, of course. I'd dedicate time to the guy in a heartbeat because I'm pretty fickle. But for now, my disdain is what I feel, so that's what I'm going to express. I swing two ways with Dave. I don't know if he's a shill. I don't know if he's out there because he's lazy with a script that he can't be bothered to update. And that's why he is quite content to make us all look like retards, talking about 9/11 truth and Mandela effect and no forest on flat earth. Complete garbage. Just total garbage. And it makes us look like idiots. And it infuriates me when we've got the cutting edge best of the best arguments that can end the discussion in moments when we talk about how Earth is measured. There's no ambiguity. There's no, as the guy we were covering in the pre-show said, there's no alteration needed to anybody's life when you appreciate how they've got away with it. They've got away with it by telling you how Earth's measured flat and then following that up by saying that means we're on a ball. But nothing changes. Asserting your belief after talking about how Earth gets measured flat is exactly that. That's why currently our opponents like Simon Dan or Dave McKeegan say things like, well, the surveyors use blueprints and they don't have any problem with the flat Earth surface level that they use when they level their tools to the horizontal plane of reference that they build on. Yeah, they don't have any issue with it because they're measuring Earth flat. Well, I mean, it's only 50 kilometres of flat Earth. We don't have much curve in 50 kilometres, says Simon Dan when he apologises for the lack of curve that isn't being measured when we measure Earth flat in all instances. So again, you've got people who would ask, well, what difference does it make to my life? None when you understand that all you're doing is superimposing your belief onto how Earth gets measured flat. Then you just realise that that's what you're doing, superimposing belief on top of flat Earth measurements. And you sound rather stupid. Dan sounds incredibly stupid when he goes out and makes thousands of flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements. That's elevation, meaning it's off the surface, angle, meaning two straight lines, fundamentally requiring Earth be measured flat. When he does that and says, here's 1,000 flat Earth measurements, because we're on a really big ball, he sounds stupid. Because it is stupid. But I'm not punting something that's outrageous. I'm not saying the sky is falling. I'm not saying that we're going to be invaded by aliens. But that's what your government's telling you. They're telling you they're here with 144p black and white out of focus footage where you believe that you're going to get invaded by aliens. Yeah. They're telling you the sky's falling. I'm telling you surveys just survey. And then telling you how the surveys work. Am I altering how surveys work when they use horizontal distance measurement and trig? No. Am I coming up with something outrageously complicated? No, not really. I mean, some people might find surveying complicated in terms of trig. Some people might find trig complicated. But in terms of what it requires to measure Earth, it must be flat. And it isn't going to change anything in terms of how Earth gets dealt with when I highlight that fact. So, someone like Dave talking about 9/11 truth, Mandela effect, and no forests on flat Earth or mud floods pisses me off royally. Because that is egregious, it is outrageous, and it does require you to believe their shite that they spew instead of just talking about how Earth got measured. Will always be measured and is currently being measured by people like Simon Dan. Thousands of times flat. Anyway, we're halfway through a video, so I might as well finish it off. So this dude, I will share his link. He is a money-grabbing scumbag who has figured out that algorithmically he can be favoured if he suggests that he's an ex-flat earther and stutteringly points out how he believes he's on a ball. So let the signal maker, or sign maker, I keep getting his name wrong, the sign maker know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, you stuttering wanker.
Arc of longitude. You think it
Keeps appealing to flat Earth measurements. Moment we unpause every single time it's a flat Earth prerequisite he's using.
anyone's going to get on board with flat Earth when they realize that?
Realise what? That you're using a Cartesian grid with latitude and longitude? That it's flat and two-dimensional? What, you think people won't get on board when they realise that their two-dimensional system laid out in grid form on maps with flat mile scales and kilometre scales, they won't get on board with the flat miles and kilometres that we're measuring. They have to, or they can't travel using a map. So it's not about getting on board, you crazy hippied ponytail wearing wanker. It's about how Earth gets measured. With linear distance measurement, linear scales, flat maps, flat Cartesian grids. But your appeal is how people will get on board with that. No, they don't need to get on board with anything, and I don't care if they get on board with it. Earth will still be measured flat, regardless of how many people, quote-unquote, get on board with the facts of how Earth gets measured. They'll still be measuring it flat regardless of whether they don't believe their own bloody eyes.
It can't be hiding in the oceans.
Nothing's hiding. We measure Earth flat.
When you get to Sydney, Australia, it's over 2 times different.
What's over 2 times different? The latitude grid.
On the flat Earth.
No. All maps are flat. All distance measurements are scaled with flat scales. Have you never used a map?
You think they're just hiding that?
Nobody said anybody's hiding anything. Now, there might be out there certain flat earthers who need you to think that this is a belief and constantly go on about how Earth's not a sphere rather than how the sphere that people believe in relies on Earth being measured flat to create it. Now, those people are people like Dave. Now, that's Big Ball Dave in this instance, as opposed to Dave can't use a tripod, Fugly Dave. But Big Ball Dave will be out there saying, Earth's not a ball, as his rhetoric. Well, not being a ball is a belief that most people hold that is based on flat Earth measurements. That's not rhetoric. That's facts of how Earth gets measured. No belief is required, and your approval isn't needed.
Willy-nilly by putting some extra curves in the GPS?
Sorry, no, there aren't any curves in GPS. It's a flat Cartesian grid.
Do you realize these maps were before GPS?
What, the flat maps with flat scales and flat linear distance measurements? What are you babbling about?
Before NASA, they were used...
Right, what did NASA have to do with mapping? Nothing. Other than they measure their heights off sea level too. That'd be sea level. Used when measuring heights perpendicular to a plane of reference. It's the only way height gets measured. In all instances and without exception. To describe height, you require Earth be flat.
Figuring this stuff out?
No, you don't need to figure it out, Dumbo. And you haven't. In fact, you've whistled straight past every flat Earth prerequisite you've used in your dumbass globe faith.
You think lines of longitude are just popped into our lives?
No, I think they're flat.
From NASA?
In fact, I don't think they're flat. I know they're flat.
People, this is retarded.
No, you're retarded. You don't consider the fact you're using flat Earth prerequisites to make an argument for a ball. That is retarded.
And I'm angry because
Why? Why are you angry? What have you got to be angry about? I can pretty much guarantee that you'll do better in this arena with fraction of the subs than I've got.
talking to truthers and they're mocking me.
Well, yeah, you deserve being mocked. I'll mock you because you keep using flat Earth measurements to suggest you're on a ball. Yeah? So that's worthy of being mocked because it's stupid. You don't have to like how stupid you are.
No, I was just as fooled as all of you are, and I'm embarrassed.
Really? What am I fooled by? Flat Earth elevation angle measurements? Am I fooled by that? I'm going to go with no, nobody's fooling me. I'm pointing out how you boys on the ball go and measure Earth flat. Hundreds, if not thousands of times with elevation angles. Just go through it again. Elevation. That's off the surface. That's what elevation means if you're referring to Earth. Angle. That's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. You want an example? The entire crew of the Antarctic expedition that went down there labelled TFE measured Earth flat for a full 24 hours. I keep forgetting to mention that fuck Ugly Dave didn't quite manage it. That he was outsmarted by his own tripod. The ugly goit. Couldn't quite cope with a simple piece of equipment when measuring Earth flat. He did manage it in a limited capacity. Now, I seem to get loads of commenters that want to focus on how ugly Dave is. Now, you watching this, stop focusing on how ugly Dave is. Yeah? Dave measured Earth flat with elevation angles. Now, no matter how much you want to make it about how ugly Dave is, it won't change how he measured Earth flat. With his elevation angle measurements, his flat Earth prerequisite surface level for elevation angle measurements in the limited capacity that dumbass could use a tripod with. Now, beyond the limitation of that man, I'm assured wasn't dropped on his frickin' head. He's just dumb as all shit. He did, in a very limited dumbass capacity, with his ugly ass face, manage to measure Earth flat with elevation angles. Now, feel free to pick that low-hanging fruit of how ugly Dave is, but it won't change how flat he measured Earth, which is our primary focus here. But for this guy with his ponytail and his tash, Dave and the crew of TFE all required surface level for their angle measurements when they measure Earth flat in Antarctica. All surveys at all scales require horizontal distance measurements for rise over run or trig. Now, this isn't somehow only at a small scale because we haven't got much curve to worry about when it's a small scale. It's all scales, all surveys, all maps, all charts, all flights. Every trip you ever take will use linear, flat scales on maps for distance. Every survey will use horizontal distance measurement for rise over run. Elevation will always be perpendicular to a plane of reference. Now, do you see me struggling with these facts? Am I stuttering over these, Ponytail? No. You, a stuttering dumbass retard, can't even cope with the English language, let alone with actual flat earth measurements that you need for your bull faith.
And you better, like, if...
It's another stuttery wanker with a sentence fragment. You know you've edited this video, right? You could have edited out how big a spaz you sound. Right? Me, I'm doing this live.
If you want to embarrass yourselves, that's fine, but I'm
What am I going to embarrass myself with? Is it embarrassing to describe how fugly Dave McKeegan measured Earth flat with elevation angles that are off a prerequisite flat surface for it to be called an angle with a little degree symbol after a number? No, that's not embarrassing for me. It is embarrassing for fugly Dave McKeegan, who in a limited capacity before his tripod got the better of him, measured Earth flat. It's embarrassing for me to point out that Simon Dan, another retard, managed to measure Earth flat with thousands of elevation angles. Now, that's definitely not embarrassing for me. It's just me leaning into how you require Earth to be measured flat for you to believe you're on a ball when you measure Earth thousands of times with angles. Now, we don't need Dave and we don't need Dan. Earth's been surveyed. Go and look at the scale on a map. Does it look curved to you? No, bonehead. None of this is embarrassing. I'm detailing facts of how Earth gets measured. Nothing about this is embarrassing. Nothing about it will change if you understand at a fundamental level how Earth gets dealt with. You not understanding it is also not embarrassing for me. Just means I've got justification to call you an idiot.
going to be hammering you with...
Oh, really? You're going to be hammering me, are you, Ponytail? I'm thinking not. What are you going to come back at me with? No, actually, surveys don't use rise over run. Actually, perpendicular to a plane isn't how we describe height. Actually, surface level, aka sea level, isn't used in flight level when we fly over the plane of Earth. Yeah, it is. You're going to hammer me with these rebuttals that you're never going to have when you detail how Earth isn't measured flat, because you don't measure it like in the pre-show that we covered. You explain how little curve there was to measure. What are you going to hammer me with? An apology for our little curve you're not measuring. My God.
With all of you, Alex, Zach, all of you people out there pushing
You people? As a black man, I find that highly offensive.
the flat Earth. Forget blindfold vision. This is way bigger of a problem than that.
What, blindfolded to the flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements to Polaris you appealed to, just shortly before saying you didn't need the stars? Before you tell us that you don't know and understand how gravity works, in spite of the 110-year out-of-date version, being a downward vector perpendicular to a plane. Yeah, this is stuff you don't understand. So you're not going to be hammering me. My name's Nathan Oakley. I expect a response. I'd like you to address every single point I've gone through and show me how your claim to be lack of curve measurements in some way overcomes any measurement of Earth that I've detailed on just this live stream. You're going to be hammering me with anything, clown? Absolutely not. I'm hammering you. Not with stuff that's outrageous like alien invasions or sky vacuums, or men in little suits floating around a ball Earth that's been derived from flat Earth measurements to create heliocentric notions like orbit. All of these things rely on Earth being measured flat for your crazy, idiotic notion that you're on a ball. So you're not going to be hammering me with anything.
That. And I'm gonna embarrass. This is embarrassing.
I'm gonna stutter like a complete retard whilst telling an audience that you're going to be embarrassing flat earthers. No, what you will do is stammer and stutter around these flat earth prerequisites I'm putting to you live. No editing needed. Me pointing out Earth's measured flat in every single instance. Not only with examples that I've got, but with your own words. Your use of flat Earth grids and Cartesian systems. Your use of flat Earth distances and star measurements with elevation angles. All of which require Earth be measured as a planar surface, without exception. What you've got is a stutter as a comeback.
Embarrassing. You either act like a truther, and you come out and you start cleaning this up. I don't even like this staying neutral thing.
Sorry. Are you just talking to Dave? Is this what this is? You talking to Big Ball Dave? Maybe address the fact that Big Ball Dave thinks we're on a big ball. In an interview, he specifically said that. Well, it could be a big ball, end quote, Dave Weiss. So why are you appealing to Dave the shill, who says Earth could be a big ball? Yeah, wait till you get a load of me, retard. Earth's measured flat. You need it to be that way for your Cartesian grid, your GPS, your latitude measurement, all of which requires surface level and its measured flatness.
Like, this is making us look bad.
No, it makes you look like a spaz.
Flat Earth is making us look real bad.
Do you think it needed repeating? No, this makes you look like a ponytailed, mustachioed wanker who hasn't got the slightest fucking idea what he's talking about because you haven't actually looked into how Earth gets measured when you described latitudes and GPS. This idiot had no idea what GPS was or the flat Cartesian grid system that it used, or he wouldn't have appealed to it. In this dickhead's mind, just because it's got the word global in the abbreviation, it means it's a global system. No, how it actually functions is flat. Maybe if you'd looked into it, it would be less, what's the word, embarrassing for you.
Bad. So I'm not even cool with the neutrality thing. Like,
I'm not neutral. I'm absolutely ripping a ponytailed idiot a new asshole with his own fucking words. Yeah? Not neutral. Yeah? Not biased. Just relying on facts and measurements. It's not showing any bias when I detail how Earth gets measured. Yeah, that's a bias. Idiot.
It's as basic as what I just described.
You didn't describe anything. You used flat Earth prerequisites, Dumbo.
It's done.
Sorry, did you just do a slice your own neck symbol? Is that what you just did? Yeah, I think this man should get the guillotine, is what he's basically saying. Really? What, we should chop the heads off people who use flat Earth measurements and suggest they're on a ball with them? Is that what we should do? Wanker! Should we chop your head off because you're saying Earth's a ball after using latitude? Dumbass! You're using flat Earth measurements. Doesn't mean you need your fucking head chopped off. What a wanker!
Out of here.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, you stupid retard. That's it. Done.
Nathan,
My name.
I think I was angry about reading some of the comments. I think with that 24-hour sun thing in Antarctica, they took away his AE map. So he's very upset.
Oh, you mean this guy followed people like Jaren and didn't do any primary source research of their own, therefore they only had what Jaren told them to go on. So when Jaren said he was wrong, this guy became wrong. So he's a cuck! Cuck to Jaren and his shillery. Wow, no wonder you seem so dumb. Even when you were on the flat Earth, all you did was believe Jaren. Wow, way to put all your eggs in one basket, dumbass. Anyway, please let this guy know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that does not call him a retard or a spastic or swear at him, as it will undoubtedly immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots. But please do let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to let you know we covered your video in the live stream. Guy's name is the Signmaker. Finally got his name right. Who shared that with me?
That was Liam, I think.
Good video. Demonstrates the ignorance of our alleged opponents. And is that what people on the Flat Earth have become? Our opponents because Jaren left the community? Jaren was never a Flat Earther. When I was challenging him for his lack of acumen in terms of scientific method, he wasn't a Flat Earther then either. He was bullshitting everybody by pretending he believed in a map he'd already debunked. So the guy's a charlatan. Now, the fact that while I was pointing it out, he was saying I was a scammer, massively affecting my revenue stream, is neither here nor there. Now he's turned to the dark side of the ball based on Flat Earth measurements. Maybe pay attention to what Jaren said when it came to Earth being like a Home Depot. What does that actually mean, Jaren? Oh, it means Earth's measured flat. That's what it actually means. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. That's it. That's it. Our show's done. Our work here is over.
I left a few comments telling them if you're going to go after somebody, come after us, please.
Yeah, if you're going to do the I'm going to chop your head off symbol at the end, you're going to get both barrels.
But Nathan, they're picking and choosing. You know the deal. Let's grab this low-hanging fruit.
What, Dave?
Go after Big Ball Dave.
Yeah, go after Dave. Do you hear this, Dave? This is directed at you. You've just been described as low-hanging fruit. In other words, you're an easy target because you're a dumbass talking crap with nonsense that people can easily unpick and debunk when you talk about how Earth's not a ball. Yeah, who gives a shit what it's not? You don't need to prove non-positive claims. I don't need to prove Earth's not a roast chicken, do I? But if I went around saying Earth's not a roast chicken, I'd seem kind of crazy. But Big Ball Dave going around saying it's not a ball, you don't need to prove non-positive claims. Yeah? This is Dave and his lack of understanding of what's called the burden of proof. It isn't on you to not prove something isn't in existence, Dave. Prove it's flat. Then you won't get our disdain when you are no longer the low-hanging fruit you currently represent in Flat Earth. And that's what you do represent, Big Ball Dave. The low-hanging fruit that this guy can pick apart easily. Very easily. With your crap app.
Well, to me, it's pretty telling because if he knows about Big Ball Dave and he knows about Jaren, you mean to tell me he's never heard of FED or QE? So this is pretty sad.
Who's M-Dub? Hey, M-Dub. Who's you?
Who?
Oh, you in the hangout. M-Dub.
I'm the translator. What's up? My name's Mark.
Oh, hello. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We've met before, I guess, but yeah, I came into this in case we get a chance to talk about that, or if you prefer to do it during like a book meeting or something.
No, I'd much rather you were in this hangout. The hangout is what we use once the show's ended to do the book editing. So yeah, you joining is useful because it means you can see some of the process that we'll be going through in terms of the book editing, and it gets you to have a feel of it while we're doing it. So yeah, definitely good that you're here. Will we discuss it on the live show now because we're not editing the book currently? But yeah, I'm glad you've joined the hangout. That is.
I don't
Great.
think it's happening today, though.
No, we'll probably
okay.
resume next week. Adam's still got to wait for a chair.
That's correct.
I've suggested he gets a Herman Miller. Whether or not he saw my suggestion, I don't know.
I wanted to also just mention that I've been doing some legwork, and I think there's a French and a German translation possibility. People are interested, so if that's appealing, we can. I don't want to step on anyone's toes or anything, but folks are interested in helping for sure.
Absolutely. I'd want it translating into as many languages as possible. The amount of work that it's had put in, it's 2 years in the making. So, yeah, I mean, getting it out as wide as possible in as many easily digestible languages, native languages for people to read is a definitely good thing. So if you are that person and you want to translate my book into German or French or Swahili, whatever it is, I would be approving it immediately. So, yeah, definitely. Brilliant. I mean, I can't wait. And I'm also pleased because there's been, as with everybody who's trying to improve their efficiency, a certain amount of AI use up until now in not the most recent draft, but certainly in previous drafts. And had I been less, had I had less foresight to start doing other things to keep the money flowing in, which is microphone sales specifically, if I hadn't have done that, I would have put the pressure on to publish it. And of recent, there's been, I keep a vague eye on Scientology topics because it's directly connected to what we do, as much as people may not appreciate that. Scientology is just an extension of heliocentrism, which is useful occasionally. But in this instance, it's useful for a different reason. So is it David Miscavige, who's the current leader of Scientology, is being sued. And typically, they'll get away with using anti-SLAPP laws to overcome any legal endeavours that people try and take out against them because they're in a religion. So they can get away with utilising that anti-SLAPP law to shout down and basically get rid of all legal troubles. Well, in this instance, some ex-Scientologists that sued the guy from that 70s show, whose name eludes me, were being harangued and harassed by Scientology. And they didn't get away with just throwing an anti-SLAPP response at this. It failed. So they're into a proper court case now. And what do? They filed their response using AI. And it made up court cases. It just made up citations and made up people. Now, I've known this was the case from, fortunately for me, one of Craig's friends who I occasionally go out for a curry with. And he works for a big firm who I'm not going to allude to. I don't want him getting hassle. But he was explaining that they've got a bucket ton of money, this company, to throw at AI. And they have. And they're trying to figure out why a particular sales individual, I phrase this carefully, isn't doing his job properly. Why certain accounts are being mishandled by this particular sales individual out in the Far East. So they ask AI to figure out who this sales individual is, and it can't do it. Now, he explains to us, Mark his name is, what happens when AI doesn't give you the answer you want. You can basically turn up the wick, right? You can say, work harder. That's the term that you use when you're programming the AI to do whatever it is you want to do. And instead of it throwing a couple of cores, all of these server centers power up and they all start whirring and then they come up with an answer. Amazing. They come up with this guy and give him a name and tell you who he is, and off they go and they start looking for this guy, right? Who's been mishandling these accounts. And the guy doesn't exist. AI's just invented him. Why not? Well, you wanted a guy, so here he is. I've invented him for you. So Scientology's comparative example is they've just made up and cited case law that doesn't exist as a response. Which I find absolutely hilarious. But as I say, there were various different times where we had used AI, and then when we go back to it and we're like, actually, is this even real? Let's do our, as I keep talking about, primary source research on what AI's provided. And it turns out that AI's just completely lied to you. It's just made shit up. Just because it wants to just wants to make you happy. Very amusing. But yeah, as a result of me not being in total dire straits, just on the other side of the knife edge financially, it meant I didn't have to put pressure on, and therefore there was a chance that could have happened to me if I'd have released the book 12 months ago, with certain sections that people have gone, hang on a second, this isn't true. You're like, yeah, it is. I got it from AI. How could AI lie to me? Well, it can absolutely lie to you. In fact, it will lie to you just to make you happy. You wanted me to tell you about that person. Well, it doesn't matter that there isn't even a person that exists. I invented him. Now, are you happy now? You said you wanted a person to blame. Well, there you go. Here he is. I just invented him. So there we go.
Do you think if you asked for the radius of width, it would give it to you?
Don't know if can it give you a paradox? Would all the servers implode if they give you a paradox?
I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I can't remember whether or not when dealing with AI I've put anything paradoxical to it just to test it. Has anybody put any paradoxes to AI? Anybody remember playing Portal? So there's a point in Portal where the main computer has to try and overcome the secondary bad guy character. I think it's Portal 2. It's a video game. And the character's called Wheatley, and he's a complete Dumbo. And the problem that GLaDOS has is that normally she can destroy a machine by feeding it a paradox, and the computer just goes haywire and breaks. And she dishes out a paradox, and this particular antagonist is so stupid that it doesn't understand the paradox, so therefore it fails to destroy the computer because it's too dumb to get the paradox. Portal's such a great game. I say it's a great game. I've never actually played it. I've seen endless videos on Portal, endless speedruns of Portal. I could tell you about how the internal mechanics and programming of Portal works, but I've never actually played it. Shout out to Jardo. The answer is 42. But what is the question? Life, the universe, and everything? It is. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Well, as much as it was fun. Infinite improbability and all. Go ahead, John.
That was the wrong question. And we need to make a computer to figure out the question.
Oh, we need to make a bigger computer to figure out the question if we've got the answer and the wrong question. Right, well, I'm all tuckered out now. Thank you for the super chat, Jardo. I should really put it on screen, shouldn't I? Right, I don't normally do a plug in the middle of a live stream, but I will, as we're about halfway through. If you would like to join this channel, there is a link below this video. Hopefully it works. Has anybody tested the link recently? Hopefully so, because a couple of people have been back to old videos and they leave a comment going, why doesn't your link work? They are actually, if their ball is a bit more harsh, they're like, why does the link never work? Like, the link does work, it's just you're looking at an older show with an old link. And I'm not going to go back through 1,000 shows and update the links when it changes. So yeah, you have to come to the modern show. So I would assume the current link below this video does actually function. If you did want to challenge anything we say, you feel free. Shout out to Pablo, who's just gifted 5 memberships. Really appreciate it. Right, what do you want to talk about? I've run out of things to talk about now.
We could finish Dave Fafana and Jeranism. You can't see that?
I guess so. Just a bit further up in Master B, right?
Yeah, we've probably only got about 45 minutes left.
Or we could get to the bottom of the situation.
What situation would that be?
The 2-star rotations, because I believe Vax has some evidence.
Evidence of 2-star rotations?
Evidence of people claiming 2 poles.
No, that's different things.
24/7.
When you say 2-star rotations, I don't disagree with this concept of having a north and south with different stars in each area. What's wrong with that? Now, when people say there is a pole star in the south, I don't believe that there is. Now, I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but it really doesn't affect any of our arguments. So as much as Vaxi may have an issue with people saying that there is a pole star in the south, I mean, if somebody presented that to me, I might ask them to evidence it, but I really don't see the point. What difference does it make if there is or isn't? If there was a southern pole star, would it change any of our arguments?
Negative.
Who cares?
No, not at all. Yeah, exactly. It's not about the argument of two poles or two celestial poles or whatever. It's just the argument's all about if it was said or not said, and then if I just made the whole thing up. But I don't want to get into that anymore. It's an old hat. It's boring.
Sure. I mean, I don't know why it was discussed. I mean, it was annoying to Eli because he was hearing things alleged by yourself about people that he trusts not to engage in those sorts of discussions, and you're outright saying they did and then not providing any evidence to prove that. And that's, for Eli at least, a very annoying situation to be in. Now, me, I've got my own gripes with people like Politics Server as an entity reified by me in this instance, or anthropomorphized by me in this instance. But I'd rather keep them to myself, which is to say that if somebody says, go away, we don't want you here, then you go, okay, that's your bag, right? You don't want me there. Now, you guys can argue all day about how suspicious it is that QE and myself are banned for seemingly no reason. Now, I've been told the reason. The reason is because I used the N-word when somebody came into the stream, played it repeatedly in a video clip, and then I attempted to defuse it, and in so doing, used the word in my diffusion of the use of the word by someone else. That was called to have me banned according to Politics. At which point you think, okay, I don't want to take part. If that's your utilisation of this rule, if somebody spams your live stream, which we were live at the time, by saying nigger, 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 nigger through a played clip in a video, and then I use the word to diffuse it and describe how someone else playing it is contextually racist, and in so doing use the word, and I get banned, you just think, okay, well then we're dealing with disingenuous people if you want to use that as a reason to ban me. But, you know, in which case you go, okay, well, I don't want to be around those people, so why would I moan about them? Just keep away from them. Other than when you guys moan about them, I really haven't brought up Politics since I got banned. Because why would I?
Is the issue with the pole stars that they're a part of the same axis? Is that what people are wanting to know?
Don't know. I think it's just the fact that people have suggested that there is a southern pole star, Sigma Octantis.
I hear Jedi as clear as day saying, you know, I'm one. I briefly brushed through the videos that Dax sent me, but I do hear him clear as day.
Like, essentially, what happened is somebody mentioned two celestial poles. I disagreed. We had one argument that got really, really heated and contentious. And then the very next day, we had a very mellow, respectful talk about it. Like, nobody was swearing at anybody. And like I said, it's just the fact that, like, I was called a liar and that it never happened. Okay, and I didn't back up evidence to prove that it did. But then I realized, wait a second. I'm not making the positive, like, Eli's the one making the positive claim that I am lying. So isn't it his job to prove that I lied?
No, it's your job.
That's the thing I was getting mad about.
No. If I say Neil claimed all women are scum, and then you say, well, you need to back that up, Nathan, with some form of evidence. You need to show where he said that. And I go, I can't. Well, without backing it with any evidence, it's a baseless assertion.
Yeah, I guess. No, that's true too.
The burden of proof is on you. If you want to claim somebody said something, now, that doesn't mean that it isn't true, but no one's going to accept it as true unless you can actually evidence it as true.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I was struggling with, like, I was kind of going back and forth in my head with that. Because I'm like, do I really have to, like, go dig through the videos and find the conversation from
Yes.
January 25th? And I did. I found it. Dude, I just scrolled through their live streams and stopped. Like, once I did a big swooping scroll and it went through like 50 videos and I stopped. And I'm like, oh, January 25th. And I clicked on it. And dude, boom, it was right there. Like, as soon, I'm like, oh my God, what are the odds? That was so lucky. I need to go buy some lottery tickets.
Just do a word search.
But I just managed to find
The
it.
easiest way to do it is to go into the transcript on the side of the video. So on where the live stream chat or comments would be, there's 3 little dots. You press the dots, and then you go to this drop-down menu that says Show Transcript. And then is it Control C or something like that, and you can do a search for a word. I've forgotten the shortcut command. Whatever the shortcut command is to search for a word. And you just search for whatever it is you're looking for in the transcript, and then it'll bring it up with the timestamp. So if it's Polaris, or if you just did a word search for Sigma, you'd probably find your way to it pretty quickly. That's how you find stuff in videos. If you want to scroll through them, that's going to take you hours.
Right. I just, like I said, I just flipped my finger and then clicked on a video that was around the time, and it just so happened to be there. I'm like, oh. I didn't see. I'm a boomer at heart. Like I didn't realize you can word search for things in transcripts. Oy. I'm the slow kid in the back.
Well, not a lot of people know that. I mean, that's just from experience, having to find things in a pinch. But typically, I don't even use that method because I tend to not rely on cited sources. I'd rather make my point with an argument as opposed to a citation. Now, as QE, I remember QE saying it, your citations don't make your argument. Your argument's your argument. You can make a support for your argument with a citation. But it's like, I remember asking him, I'm like, so you're saying you don't actually need citations at all? And he was like, no. I'm like, hey, that sounds good to me. Never looking anything up. I'm incredibly lazy. If I can just get my argument in a line, I don't need to cite anything. And the answer is, yeah, you don't need to cite anything. If you've got your argument all worked out, why would you need a citation? Do I need to cite anything when I describe how horizontal distance measurement is utilised with trig? Just go to any survey. That's how it's surveyed. But digging it out, it's like, oh, I can't be bothered.
Yeah. Because, like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I should probably go try to dig this up. But it seemed like such a daunting task because, like, when they do their recordings, they're like 5 hours to like 12-hour videos. I'm like, oh. So I gotta try to think of the date, go back to that time frame, and then go through like 12, 13, 14 videos of that time period. And I'm like, I'm lazy. I don't want to do that shit. But I did get a little lucky. But we don't have to. It's whatever. It's stupid. Because, like I said, the argument in and of itself has nothing to do with the surface being measured horizontal and being used as, disguise a horizontal plane and the surface is a horizontal plane parallel to each other. It doesn't change anything.
Exactly. So therefore, in a way, I was a bit baffled as why it was being argued about. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you've got a real bee in your bonnet for people saying that there's a star that you can't see, then, fair enough, argue with it, but for me, it just seems a bit of a waste of time if it's not really proving a point either way. I mean, as John just pointed out a minute ago, it's like, well, what are you really talking about? We're talking about perpendicular to a plane of reference to being axes. Well, that sounds like a flat Earth prerequisite right there. Why argue about it? Okay, so you say there's a pole star. Okay, so we're perpendicular to a plane of reference then. Well, that's great. Earth's flat then.
I think the reason why it got so ugly is because it was right on the heels of them coming back from Antarctica or all that crap. And I think people were just extra defensive about certain things and stuff. So I don't know.
I mean, I can relate.
Because I was always in the, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm just agreeing with you.
Well, I was always in the boat of who cares if they did or didn't. Like, let's just say they did go to Antarctica. And like you said, they measured elevation angles for 20. Well, they attempted to for 24 hours. Like, yeah, great. That's a flat Earth proof. Like, even if we just take for red, they did 100% what they claim they did. It doesn't change anything. Just FE infighting and people's personalities clashing, more or less.
Right. Should we do this video then?
before we do, Refracted, are you there? I was going to say he summed it up best a few months ago when he said that their position is that if the elevation angle of the sun remains above the horizontal plane of reference needed to measure the angle for more than 24 hours, then the horizontal plane of reference is no longer a horizontal plane of reference. It's just so absurd.
Yeah, if we measure Earth flat with elevation angles, it means if we've got 24 hours of flat Earth elevation angles, then it's not a flat Earth elevation angle. Utterly absurd, but that is their position. In summary.
What's
Right, let's
bad
get
is
into
that
this.
we have to.
We just do a plug for this.
What's
Hold on.
bad is
Just 1 second. So this is Professor Dave Explains channel. So please let Professor, which is not Dave, know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that alludes to the fact that we have covered his video here if you are watching this live. So there is a link going by in the live stream chat to Professor Dave. Were he to make a video response, I would hope he would do the same for me.
His cash cow, so
his meager income. Yeah,
it may not be much, but it's going
It's
to
what
zero
he's
from
got.
whatever it was. Is not that's kind of what's happening to me. It's not the healthiest thing to do, but sometimes if the alternative means you got to lie to people, you'll never catch me doing this.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I appreciate the perspective and the additional context.
Perspective, you can't have that on a flat Earth. Maybe you should listen to some of your compadres like Conspiracy Cats. I'll give you a flat Earth for that. End quote. Conspiracy Cats. When talking about perspective, talking about angles.
So now let's do a little flat Earth debunking. I think you want to talk about some flat earthers and things they've said. Whatever you've got, let's go for it.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff. And so let me see if we bring these up and share screen. All right, here's first one we're going to look at is Eric Dubay, as he is, I don't want to look at him. Fired Papa. I don't want to hear him. I can't stand his voice, but here we go.
Okay. He's spoken with extreme confidence, as you will hear for yourself right now.
In order to fit the heliocentric globe model, this midnight sun phenomenon must also occur for observers south of the Antarctic Circle during winter solstice. Depending how far south the observer is, the sun should be seen for several days or weeks, never fully setting, just like it does in the north. In reality, however, there is never 24-hour sunlight anywhere in Antarctica at any time of year.
You heard it from the man himself. A 24-hour sun in Antarctica fits the heat. Here's another clip.
Okay. And being incorrect about that proves a ball, does it? I'm going to go with no. Measuring a flat Earth elevation angle measurement to the sun for a 24-hour period, as all of the TFE participants did. Oh, why do I keep getting that wrong? I'll just make a slight correction. Fugly Dave McKeegan was outsmarted by a tripod and didn't quite manage to measure Earth flat for the full 24 hours. Now, I am assured that he was not dropped on his head. He is just dumb as shit and was just outsmarted by a tripod because he's thick. Meanwhile, in a limited capacity, Fugly Dave McKeegan, along with everybody else in Antarctica, managed to measure the elevation angles to the sun for a full 24-hour period, making Earth, what, a ball? Because you measured it flat. They're measuring elevation, that's off the surface. Angles, that's two straight lines. So that's a flat Earth prerequisite measurement that they made. Now, the reason we've gone to Eric Dubay is because Eric Dubay has incorrectly asserted, allegedly, that there is not a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Now, I wouldn't trust any of the people who went down to Antarctica, down being perpendicular to a plane also, south being horizontal, as far as I could throw them. So I don't trust anything that they've provided. For a start, they went down with a CGI expert. Why? To measure Earth flat with elevation angles to the sun for a full 24-hour period. I don't believe anything that they've got to say. I just think they're all charlatans.
The midnight sun being seen only in the northern regions is evidence against the globular theory. If the world were a globe, the midnight sun would be seen in the southern regions.
I mean, how old is this video? I mean, maybe Eric Dubay used to go along the lines of constantly trying to show how Earth is not a ball. But if I was to speak to Eric, I'd say, if this was him saying it currently, why? You don't need to prove a negative. You don't need to prove it's not a ball. The positive assertion is on them to prove, as opposed to you to disprove. But I mean, it's Eric Debay. What are you going to say? Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's just an observation. Sorry, mate.
Well, one day.
Come on, Brian. Come on, mate. You're all right.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Eric Debay made a video recently where he just said basically 10 technologies, as he called them, that proved the Earth is flat. You know, like the sextant and, you know, the theodolite and all these kind of things.
Radar.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And, you know, it's like he's all right. You know, he said that some years ago. And to be honest with, like, this is very unfair because there was nobody producing videos of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Right? There wasn't before December 2024. The only guy that was claiming to produce them had to admit to faking some of them. Right? He probably say he had to fake all of them. Right? Now we have the one from Antarctica by these people. But they've proven themselves to be so dishonest. And the whole thing to be such a sham. Like, I personally shown how much of a sham it is. It's like, you just can't trust them. They are too untrustworthy for me to actually put a bet down and say, yeah, I can pay $100 that there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
I wouldn't take that bet. Say, I would
couldn't
still
do that.
And neither could I. It's still ambiguous as far as I am concerned. Now, I wouldn't put my stamp either way, and it's fueled the ambiguity, their trip down there, but who cares? Again, in terms of whether or not there is a 24-hour sun, it will not alter how the measurements take place, will it?
No, see, this is the quandary they're in. They not only did they need to use a flat Earth for their trip there and their trip back, and for to measure everything they claim to measure there, right? But they also needed to use time zones, UTC time, which is flat Earth. It's a proof, another absolute proof. So it's a total quandary. They're just trying to hijack whatever they may or may not have seen in the sky and claim it's a globe. You know, it's pathetic. You know, that's what they're doing.
December.
So, I mean, once you understand, sorry, mate. Once you understand the measurements of how Earth is measured, there's no going back. Once you know it's measured using sea level and elevation angles, there's no escape from that, is there? No matter what you're looking at in the sky, it's measured flat. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and deflect to guns and suggest that me and an 8-year-old comment where I say that you'd get stopped at gunpoint, which was then confirmed 6 months after they returned when someone was turned away at gunpoint by the Chilean government because they hadn't filled out all the forms. Nevertheless, I was pointing out how Earth got measured when I was told that there was no guns there, like I give a crap. Earth gets measured flat by people who are in Antarctica if they're going to measure it. And what do you know? They measured it flat. Exactly as we said they would.
There was actually...
It's quite sorry.
Go on, Sancho, go on.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say it's quite amusing as well. The guy who set all this up has done a runner.
He might be in jail.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I wasn't going to add it in, but it's true. He's gone missing. He said he's not going to be around anymore. He's gone. That's it. I don't know. And
how did he say it? Did he say, I won't be around for 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
Depending on good behaviour.
Yeah, depending on parole, yeah. Specific time he just said he was going away. And that was it. He had a going away party.
I'll be gone for 3 to 5 years, pending good time. Is it good time they call it?
Pending good behaviour.
Well, they didn't call it that. I think they call it good time. Is it good time they call it, Neil? You're an ex-convict.
Yeah, you get good time. That means you get out a little earlier. You got to be a model prisoner, though.
I just thought it meant if you're having a good time there, they'd let you out early. Oh, well, you're having a good time, so we'd better let you out.
Yeah, you're having it too easy in here. We better leave you out for some hardship. What I was going to say is there was people turned away at gunpoint before they went to Antarctica in 2024. There was one particular guy, he's a very wealthy flat earther, and he actually tried to sail to Antarctica, and he was they turned him away twice, just past the 60th parallel south, and they took his boat off him, and they had machine guns as far as I know.
Yeah, you know when I found out about that? About 8 years ago when I wrote that comment.
Yeah, so it's like it's not as if nobody has ever tried to go there and were turned away at gunpoint. They were.
But who cares? I mean, literally, it's 8-year-old rhetoric that might have seemed important 8 years ago to me when detailing the facts of how people get turned away from Antarctica prior to this bunch of numpties filling out endless forms and doing GoFundMes to facilitate just travelling to a certain part of the world. Why would that cost so much money? Oh, because there's quite a lot of red tape that you've got to overcome to get down there, down being perpendicular to a plane of reference. Yeah. But what? There were no guns? Oh, really? All right. What? There was no armed guards at any of the airports you went to? Yeah, there was, lying bastards. It's almost like you want to deflect away from the flat earth measurements I was talking to the specific participant named Toon when he phoned me from Antarctica on my show that's claimed to be an echo chamber. Yet somebody from Antarctica can phone me and I can say to them, you're measuring Earth flat, Toon, and before I've got to the end of the sentence, they're telling me I'm a liar and that there's no guns. It's almost like a deflection away from the measurements, isn't it?
On a Sunday
as well,
when you just happen to be live.
I was saying, I think that was the point. If you go back 8 years or whatever it was, flat earthers were concentrating on, well, let's work out what the sun's doing over this flat plane, and what is it moving in circles and in and out, and is it speeding up and slowing down? We wasn't talking about measurements of the Earth and how it's measured. That was the focus on other things, really. Where now that we've progressed and the main focus is it's geometry, and we're talking about the measurements of the surface of Earth, not the lights in the sky.
Like on screen. This is what they measured in Antarctica. It's called an elevation angle. It's two straight lines. If this isn't straight, see where it says A? If it isn't straight, then it's not an angle. If it's only with respect to the vertical, then it's not an elevation angle, because elevation is describing the surface. And if it's bent, it's not an angle. So to be clear, this is what they measured. It's called an elevation angle. It's what was measured in a limited capacity by Dave Fugly McKeegan, but everybody else there managed the full 24 hours of claim to be sun rotation about their position, meaning that they've just measured Earth flat for 24 hours. That's all it means, because they did. Unless, of course, they want to deny their own measurements, in which case, fine. So you didn't get any measurements. You can't put a little degree symbol after the elevation angle measurement that you measured. Okay, well, you feel free to deny your own flat Earth measurements that you're absolutely measuring, because you've got a degree symbol after a number. That's a flat Earth prerequisite. Here's another example. Just so we're all clear, these aren't my diagrams. They've come from bull-believing numpties in bull-believing books, where they describe how things like vernal equinox works inside a ball so that you can have a flat plane to get the angle from, on a plane so you can describe north, south, east and west in a planar fashion as north, south, east and west are described always and without exception. If you're going to describe direction, you're going to need a flat plane to describe it on. And that's exactly how it's dealt with. Now, this system can be converted into a glorified protractor, that's a ball wrapped around you, that you can call a globe at radius 3959. But that would be a derivation of a flat Earth minimum elevation angle to Polaris that we use in a system that also uses flat Earth elevation angles to the star Polaris that we call latitude. All Earth measurements, without exception, are flat. It's the only way it can function. That is how Earth is measured, and it's detailed in all ball-believing numpties books, where their faith expands out the flat terrain into the extended celestial plane. Miles bigger than any ball could ever cope with, because your angles to the stars that are beyond the equatorial plane still can be measured with circles of equal altitude, and they are. That's how Earth's measured and mapped and charted and sailed upon and flown over. Flat. Without exception. So why is it a shock that people go to Antarctica and make measurements and they're flat Earth measurements? Because that's the only way Earth can be measured. There aren't any exceptions to it. What's that? Can you hear that? Where are the guns, Nathan? Yeah, that's what I'd say too if I was on the ball measuring Earth flat. We have a little bit more and then we'll round out.
If the Earth was a globe, then the midnight sun would be seen in the southern regions. And
That's an affirming the consequent form of logical fallacy. If P, then Q. Q, therefore P. Not Q, therefore not P. I've got that wrong. It's a bit late in the day.
Of course it is. And so, this is the problem is all these guys, I can have respect for somebody if they're going to make a claim that's out of the ordinary, as long as they're willing to back away from that as soon as the evidence takes them to that direction.
So the same standard would apply to you then, Jaron, would it? So long as you're prepared to back away, in a horizontal vector, from this notion. Well, let's see if Jaron's capable of understanding that Earth is measured like a Home Depot with elevation angles in this instance. Are you prepared to walk away from your crazy notion of sphericity when you're measuring Earth flat in Antarctica, Jaron? No, you're a shill. You're here to lead numpties like we covered at the beginning of this live show away from their faith that they put in you for a flat Earth. Because that's all they had from you, a faith in a flat Earth. Over here on Flat Earth Debate, we talk about how Earth gets measured in all instances, including but not limited to the TFE measurements you all made in Antarctica. Apart from fuck ugly Dave, couldn't quite manage a tripod. Yeah? Now, feel free, if you're an audience member, to focus on how ugly Dave is, like how scrape your eyes out your own head ugly Dave is, when we detail how he measures Earth flat. Because that low-hanging fruit is what you all like to go for, right? You called Dave ugly. Why'd you make it into a personal attack when you're talking about how ugly Dave measured Earth flat? I'm not. I'm talking about how he measured Earth flat in a limited capacity until the tripod got the better of him and his fugly face when measuring Earth flat. Which you're going to pick? Don't call him ugly. Why not? He is. I mean, it's just an opinion. Like, I'd rather scrape my own eyes out of my head than look at Dave's fugly face whilst measuring Earth flat in a limited capacity with a tripod he couldn't quite wrap his head round. Now, I am assured that he was not dropped on his head. He's just dumb. But dumb Dave McKeegan, fortunately for him, had compadres there who did manage to measure the full 24 hours of flat Earth rotation elevation angles off a flat surface. For elevation, that's the surface. Angles, that's two straight lines. For the full 24 hours. It was only Dave, the idiot, who couldn't quite cope with his own tools when experiencing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to measure Earth flat for 24 hours. He didn't quite manage it because he's dumb and ugly. But you feel free to focus on those two last points and ignore how flat he measured Earth in the limited capacity he managed to get his tripod to work in.
So if he wants to make a crazy claim like that, that's fine. But
Sorry, is it crazy for me to say you measured Earth flat with elevation angles? You're going to tell me that's a crazy claim?
Second, that it's been now debunked and been shown.
So now we've shown that you measure Earth flat, you're going to toddle your way back onto a flat Earth, Jaron? Like flip-flop for a second time? Or would it be third?
Shown clearly without...
It'd be third time, wouldn't it? Flip-flop away from the globe to flat Earth, that's one. Flip-flop away from the flat Earth to the globe, that's two. And then flip-flop away from the globe because you've measured Earth flat in Antarctica, that would be three. How many more flip-flops do you need?
Any prejudice at all. Then
we're not talking about prejudice when you've got flat Earth measurements, Jaron.
And he needs to, be a man and say, hey, I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right in that regard. Maybe you should be insisting that Eric Debay got it wrong based on you bunch of charlatans who none of which are trustworthy measuring Earth flat for 24 hours. Therefore, he should retract that he said that there wasn't a 24-hour sun that could be measured Earth flat with elevation angles in Antarctica. Will that change how flat Earth got measured by you? No, it really won't, will it? But I mean, what, you get the joy of Eric saying he was wrong about there being a 24-hour sun alleged to be measured with flat Earth angles in Antarctica by you bunch of clowns. I could get it wrong, though. I say you bunch of clowns measured Earth flat for 24 hours. Dave McKeegan couldn't quite manage it, could he? Yeah, too stupid to use a tripod. Only the limited capacity of Dave's brain enabled him to get a limited amount of flat Earth elevation angles with his fugly face. What's that? You want to focus on me being mean, calling him fugly? Why don't you focus on the flat Earth measurements he made? Is that just easier to focus on how ugly Dave is? Bless. Yeah, you feel free.
You're a flat earther. Witsit claims to still be a flat earther, but acknowledges that he saw the 24-hour sun and wasn't in a studio or whatever other dumb crap they want to come up with. So,
sorry. So, how do you know, Professor Dave, that they weren't in a studio? Have you been down and watched them and observed them? How do you know that they weren't? How do you know that Witsit isn't in on the whole charade? How do you know that? You don't. But you're going to say that it's nonsense. All right, okay. I mean, I don't know either way, but I'm more than happy to disclaim that. I don't know if they were in a massive tent of tellies or actually on Antarctica. But regardless of if they're in a tent measuring surface level elevation angles to a displayed picture of the sun or actually measuring the sun in Antarctica, they're still measuring it flat, aren't they? With elevation angles. It's the only way to measure.
And they weren't at the equatorial plane.
Say again?
They weren't at the equatorial plane anyway.
No, they're on the extended celestial plane.
Horizontal.
Yeah, horizontal. It can't be anything other than horizontal, otherwise you can't call the little degree symbol after the number a measurement, unless it's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. And if it's not off the surface, what's that? Tangent plane, tangent plane. What do you mean? Elevation angles out in space? Elevation off the point out in space that's only got a single point meeting a ball that you presupposed? Well, that's not an elevation angle. Elevation means off the surface. Angle means two straight lines. The little degree symbol that you all measured. Why do I keep getting this wrong? All except Spastic Dave. Not dropped on his head, just dumb as shit, incapable of using a frickin' tripod. All except Dave measured Earth flat for 24 hours. Let's just get that clear. I keep getting that wrong.
A pariah as well, or what are their?
What are you going to do when you're live? You're going to stutter your way around every sentence like the guy we covered this morning? What are you going to do?
What do they say about him?
Who cares? So, okay, Eric Debay, one man, got it wrong, allegedly, based on your use of flat Earth elevation angle measurements, potentially in a tent of tellies, or maybe on Antarctica, but you're still measuring Earth flat either way. So what, you want a concession from one man? How petty. I don't give two shits whether Jaron concedes his idiocy in this regard. I'll lean into the actual measurements he made. Do I care that Jaron doesn't concede how stupid he is? No. I don't care. I don't care. You don't need to give me any concessions, Jaron. I don't care that you don't understand how flat you measured Earth. What's that you do? Earth's like a Home Depot? Yeah, if you say so. But I'll just lean into the measurements they made. I don't need them to apologise for them or explain them. I just refer to them. And then I don't care what Jaron does afterwards. But you, a petty man, need Debate to apologise to you. Why? Does that change the flat Earth measurements? No. Just you being petty.
I think in the communities kind of got some issues. Obviously, they think he faked a vape, which means that the whole thing was fake or something.
No. Did anybody hear us mention anything about vapes in the last responses that we made? We said you all measured Earth flat with elevation angle. Damn. Stupid, idiotic, fugly Dave McKeegan didn't quite manage it, but other than fugly Dave, who couldn't quite manage his own tripod, you all measured Earth flat. Does that sound like me talking about Witsit vaping? No! The idiot flat earthers focused on Vapegate. We focused on how they measured Earth flat. Before they went, while they were there, hi, my name's Toon. You're measuring Earth flat. Where are the guns?
But no, his position is just basically, there's enough wrong with the heliocentric model that it could.
But who's he? Debay? Enough wrong with the heliocentric model? All right, well, I mean, feel free to attack Eric Debay for his inaccuracies about your alleged possible Tentatelli / Antarctic flat Earth measurements. Petty.
Still be flat, which it's...
No, not could be. Was required to be flat for you to call the little degree symbol after a number a measurement. Without it being flat, you haven't got any measurements. It's a prerequisite. It's an elevation angle measurement. You all made, except for Fugly Dave, couldn't quite cope with the tripod. Other than Ugly Dave, you all measured Earth flat.
It's not. There's no. That's another thing I think flat earthers don't realize is that they.
But this is going to be a stereotyping fallacy.
Think that there'll be another map coming down the road.
Sorry, all maps are flat. The scales for distances on maps are flat, as per the surveys of distances. There's no curved scales, ever, on the flat maps. So Jaren fundamentally doesn't understand how maps work. Or has never used a map, clearly never a Boy Scout. I mean, he didn't know how to use a compass, so what do I expect?
And there is no, the AE map is the only flat.
Sorry, it's not a flat Earth map, Jaren. The azimuthal, this is Jaren being a scumbag. What's the word? A liar. Flat Earth map, the azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection came from wrapping a cylinder around a globe. The globe came from minimum elevation angle measurements to Polaris. So the order of events here is measure Earth flat to devise a system of latitude. Project the flat radial value measured with the minimum angle to Polaris onto a ball. Wrap a cylinder around the ball and then project that flat. And then project that conically into a North Pole centric azimuthal equidistant globe projection. But what's Jaren saying? It's the only flat map. Lying scum. Gotta lie to Glurf, right, Jaren? It's not a flat Earth map. It's an azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection, and the globe was created with flat Earth elevation angle measurements of stars. Just to be clear.
Wasn't Jaren part of a whole group of people back in 2016 showing how that map was wrong?
Yeah, he participated in tracking the sun on a flat Earth live, because before TFE, long before Duffy was being accused of fraud, I mean, working on TFE, we'd already tracked the sun and figured out the azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection wasn't a flat Earth map or accurate. Jaren was there, he took part. Jaren already knew, but it was inconvenient for his shill arc to decry the flat Earth alleged map that he's just called it at that particular juncture. So therefore he retained it in spite of having debunked it. So he could then debunk it and say you're actually on a globe, because this azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection that's come from a globe that was created with flat Earth elevation angles means we're not on a flat Earth map as it is. Just a charlatan. Jaren's a scumbag and a liar.
Well, based off of his standard of evidence, and he say they're a small while ago that if somebody has crazy ideas, that's okay. But if they're showing evidence that debunks those ideas, then they should concede that those ideas are wrong. Well, he has this crazy idea, supposedly, that it's a globe. And back in 2016, the positions of the sun in relation to people on the Earth were shown to be not in alignment with his globe projection, the AE projection.
Yeah, he also conceded this to, I think it was Vaxi, who went on Jaren's show and said, why are you claiming this is a flat Earth map when you had already debunked it as being incorrect? And his response was something to the effect of, it was only an hour out. Or to put it another way, wrong. So he knew it was wrong and retained it anyway, because it was useful for his shill arc, his character arc, to retain the azimuthal North Pole centric globe projection as a claim to be flat Earth map, as he's just called it. That's what charlatans and scammers do. Because that's what he is. He also simultaneously was out there calling me a scammer and charlatan whilst being exactly that.
Flat Earth map that there can be, because we know
1 second, Nathan. Pause a sec, sorry. It was an hour out several times. It wasn't just like for different locations. It wasn't just 1 hour out. The way he said that.
No, that's what he said. That's not the case, yes. You're right, but that's what he said. No, there were multiple locations that did not line up with time and date and what we actually observed at solar noon when tracking the sun on a flat Earth live, with the azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection as the base that we utilised to check if it was an accurate flat Earth map. And it isn't. He knew it back then, but obviously retaining it and saying that means Earth's not a flat plane was useful.
It's not an accurate globe map.
In 2025. Go ahead, sorry.
So it's the point is that he said once evidence is produced that shows that his crazy idea, someone's crazy idea is wrong, then they should concede. That's a globe map, as in the land positions, right? Or the land masses and the sizes, everything else is all based off of a globe, right? The globe was wrong.
Yeah.
Not flat out.
Yeah, the globe it was originally projected from would have this.
It's not a globe.
You're saying that the globe it was projected from has the scales incorrect for the projection.
Yeah,
therefore,
the
globe
latitude
projection's
and
wrong.
longitude grade is correct, but all the land masses are all warped and wrong. So,
Yeah, I'd go with that.
your longitudes are it.
Yeah, I'd completely go with that. Based
So
on what
they should be conceding then.
Well, no, he's a
Not a
scammer.
globe.
Well, Jaren's just a scammer.
All right.
Locations of the continents. We know that the sun brings them light and heat every day, every 24 hours. And we know the tropics those aren't man-made. Those are the furthest north and south the sun goes. And we know the equator. So once.
So, yeah, those are all measured with flat Earth elevation angles, though, aren't they? To the sun or Polaris. So what you're leaning into here is flat Earth elevation angle measurements to all of the luminaries to suggest that we're not on a flat plane. That seems idiotic, Jaren. Almost like you're a scammer.
All from sea level as well.
Yeah.
Once you lay those out on a piece of paper or on a map, then you have the
on a flat piece of paper with flat scales and flat distances, then it's flat.
map. So I don't know what they think. Once you've debunked the AE map, you have debunked flat Earth.
With the globe projection, you mean? No, you haven't debunked flat Earth by debunking what the rulers of this world produced to deceive us. That's maps on a large scale. There's thousands of them. So you're saying because we've got thousands of flat maps with thousands of flat scales and flat distances that are used successfully to navigate, Earth's not flat because we've got distorted land masses. Yeah, we know exactly why they distorted the land masses. The people who owned the land wanted to make their land seem bigger, so they distorted it on the maps. Okay, that means it's not flat. No, it means the land masses are distorted on the flat maps with flat scales that we use successfully in navigation, that we charted the world with. Good.
Sorry, I thought you were finished, but I thought you were going to play in the video again. So I was going to say, if you look at the AE map, the distortions on that are because they're trying to fit the actual positions of the land masses onto a globe, which will change their longitude positions. This is why you look at the AE or Gleason's AE map or Gleason's projection. You have best example out of them is Australia, is like about 2.5 times the size it really is. Do you know what I mean? When it's actually only the same size as what America looks like, or actually even slightly smaller on some parts than what America looks like on that map. So there's one example. Another one is Tahiti and Hawaii. They're not in the same time zone. You know, that's all because globe. That's globe. So anyone who is matching their observations to that projection, which is a globe projection, and it's shown to be wrong, that means the globe failed, not flat Earth.
Yeah, it shows the inaccuracies in the globe projection. Absolutely correct. Right, with that, any final comments before I round out the live show?
Jaron is not.
Jaron's a knob?
No, Jaron is ace, not.
I didn't hear that second time either. One more time.
Jaron is ace, not.
Oh, Jaron is ace, not. Yeah, okay. Very 2000s. Not. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. What was the guy's name? The Signmaker, if I ever get his name right, or Professor Dave Explains, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. Hopefully one of my mods will drop both of those links in the live stream once again, and hopefully if they were to respond, they'd put a link to my video in their response to me. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.